Chica. Welcome back. We are at episode 48. We have Nisa with us today. And I just want to point out, not only has she lost like 44 pounds, she went from a size 18-20 to like a size 8. But this woman, look at her face, she has given birth to 5 children. I had to say that because she does not look like that's possible. And some of them are like grown, like married. So anyway, she looks amazing. So welcome, Nisa. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So why don't we just get right into it? Tell us the basics about just your stats, your age and height and health and all that type of stuff.
Okay, so I'm 45. I'm 5'3", so shortish. Um, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism a few years ago. I had to have a radical hysterectomy, 2013, I think. Um, and so I take bioidentical hormones, or I actually, pellets. I use the pellets, but was in a my hormones were really messed up for a long time, and so kind of had some issues along with that. But
Right, yeah.
now I'm
I'm
doing good.
curious, with the bioidentical hormones that you take, do you take like all of them, like progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, all that stuff? Or just some?
Not progesterone because I don't have a uterus,
Oh,
so I don't really need it.
gotcha.
I did it first, but then the doctor said, you really don't need it. Your
Okay.
body's fine without it. So
Okay.
I do the testosterone and the estrogen.
Gotcha. Okay, that's really interesting. I think that that's neat to hear because you were probably on that while you did your rounds of HCG, right? So
Yes,
that's
yes.
nice because I get that question a lot actually, like, oh, can I take my hormones and still lose weight? And some people wonder if it'll prevent them, but obviously for you it worked out.
It
So
worked great. Yeah.
that's great. So that's very good. Okay, and then so just to I kind of let everyone know, but again, tell us what your results were from the protocol.
Okay. Well, I did 3 rounds. And so are you just talking about like the weight, like what weight I
Yeah,
lost or just overall?
yeah. Where did you start weight wise? I don't know if I shared
It
that.
was it was like 189, 190, and
Okay.
then I gained only a pound, even though I ate like a horse.
Right.
Loading the first time, but yeah, it was 190.
Gotcha.
Um, and so today I'm 146,
Okay.
and I have my inches written down
Yeah.
in the workbook because I ordered your workbook, which
Oh,
was
nice.
a life saver for me because if I wouldn't have tracked, it would have, yeah, it would have been in this notebook here and that notebook here and whatever. But anyway, I did write them down. I don't have it with me,
Sure.
but I can tell you that my waist was a 40 and now it's a 32.
Wow.
So that was, pretty significant.
No, that
Uh,
is. It's yeah. It's a big deal. Oh, and I'm
but
so glad to hear you use the workbook. I never even know
oh,
who's using it. They'll just like randomly pop out of the woodwork, like, "Oh, hey, I used your workbook."
oh no, I just,
So you
and
actually tracked in the pages.
yes, I used it every day. It was there and on the little side table on the couch by my little spot with my
Yeah.
coffee. And
Awesome.
every single day, I mean, husband, everyone knew, don't touch that book.
The special book.
The special book,
Oh, so are you done? Or are you planning on any future rounds? I mean, you
Well,
look great, but I just didn't. Everyone has their own
I
goal.
thought about it. I played around with maybe after the first of the year, but I don't know. I'm kind of trying the ketogenic
Yeah.
thing right now, and I really like it so far.
Great.
I just started doing strength training,
Yeah. Awesome.
using weights because I was a cardio girl forever,
Yeah.
and I've just read a lot about strength training, and
Yeah.
so I like this. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I'd love to lose a few more pounds, but I'm happy with where I'm at, and I would like to, give this a chance.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, I know my like what my ideal weight is,
Yeah.
according to the what govern what
Charts
it
or
makes
whatever,
the
the
yeah, the
government.
chart who
Yeah.
makes the standards. Um, but I'm okay. I'm happy with where
Yeah.
I'm at. So I don't know. We'll see.
Right. The
We'll
only
see.
reason I asked was because I wanted to tell you that, so you guys, this is the workbook she's talking about. This is a hard copy you can get on Amazon. However, I finally I'm making the final revisions. I promise. I've been saying that for like 2 months, but I have the digital version. So I just want to tell you, since you've taken the
Oh,
time out of your
yes.
schedule, I'll give you the digital version, like to
Oh,
have, and then you can use it over and over. So anyway, but only if
nice.
you know, yeah. So you can have it, and that way you'll never have to buy it again. And yeah, so
Yay, that would be awesome. Yeah, because I definitely use it. Like they, the rounds go hand in hand with that. It's like I order the HCG and have the workbook. They go
nice.
together.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that that worked for you. But anyway, I wanted to say too. It sounds like you've come a long way. Based, I mean, we're gonna talk more, and not everyone else has heard your whole story yet. But it sounds like you've come a long way. Oh, it just started hailing at my house. Sorry.
What?
I was like, what's that loud noise? Oh my goodness.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
another distraction. Okay, anyway, but yeah, it sounds like you've come a long way with you saying like, you know what, I'm not at like the ultimate place I could be, but I feel happy and I'm fine with being where I'm at, and I'm fine with maybe pursuing it this last few pounds a little slower, possibly with this other method. Like, do you feel like that's a place you couldn't have been in the past mentally?
Right. Yes, I could not have. I had this mindset, excuse me, this mindset of being a certain size and weight and feeling like if I wasn't that, I just honestly, I was never satisfied because
Right.
when I sort of, and I know we'll probably get to that later, I might be jumping ahead, but
That's
when I
fine.
had the revelation of the size that I was in June, May or June, I realized that when I was thinner in my younger years or whatever, I saw myself as big as I was at that moment. So it's like I had this like epiphany that I had a warped
Body
view,
image. Yeah.
right? A warped body image. So I
Yeah.
have come. I'm really like a different person. It's very freeing, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
to,
that's so neat. Yeah, and I feel like that happens a lot. I'd like to ask you kind of how you feel that happened, but just to speak to the fact that how you were before is so common, for women to be. I was the same way when I was like a teenager and in my early 20s. It's like I got actually very thin at one point, like very thin, and I actually still thought like parts of me were overweight. Like
right,
I knew my
right,
waist was small, but then it was like, oh no, but my legs are still overweight. Like, and then
right.
like you
Yeah.
said, you look back at photos and you're like, what in the world was I thinking? Like, there's no way I could have been any smaller. I mean, or just, I looked
It's true.
great.
It's true.
Oh, and
Yeah.
it's so sad. I don't, where do you feel like that came from for you? Like that perception? What do you
You
know
know,
or?
I actually I remember first of all, let me say my family, my parent, my mom. My family was real small. It's like my mom, my uncle, my grandparents. Um, I never heard anything negative from them about my appearance. Um, my husband has always been really kind to me and never said anything, no matter what size I was. I think I was in junior high, um, and a guy called me fat,
Really?
and I mean, it's amazing how, and
Wow.
then, there were probably a handful of other times, and I wasn't
Right.
big,
Right.
but for whatever reason,
Right.
and that is what stuck with
Wow.
me.
Really?
So, and I know it's bizarre. It's like, my husband told me not long ago, he said, do you realize that um, the majority of people have not said those negative things to you, but those few times, that's what you held on
Latched
to
onto.
and believed.
Right.
So for me, for whatever reason, I think I felt like because it was coming from someone else,
Yeah.
it must have been
Like the
true.
truth. Gotcha.
Right, right.
Isn't that weird? So it's like at that moment, it's almost like some different glasses went on your face, and now you saw
Yes.
everything differently when you.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's like, it was true. After that, I remember going home from school,
Yeah.
and that was like in the morning part of the day. It stuck with me. I got home, stood in front of the mirror, and totally saw myself as fat,
Gosh.
you know.
It
And
just
I mean,
shows the power that like negativity can have on you too, especially when
God,
you're a young person. Like when we're young, we're even more influenced, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
just so impressionable, I think,
Yeah.
and it is amazing that the negative is what it's like. Our brains just want to hold on to that, you know.
Right.
Takes
Yeah.
work to overcome that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that because like you said, it really only takes one time, and
Yeah.
so many women, I think, unfortunately, especially in their younger years, feel that way, and it's nice. So moving forward, I mean, do you know how you've come to be where you are right now, kind of feeling more empowered and more content with yourself?
Okay, so I have not read all of the weight loss apocalypse, but I have read some of it.
Yeah.
Um, and I have read, I'm one of those people that will pick up several books and read
I do
several
the
at
same
once.
thing. I'm the same way.
And then I'm like, no, I haven't read the whole thing, but you know, it's like I get driven to, well, let me get this book. And anyway,
Yeah.
I don't even know all of the sources, but I recognized that I had, my thinking was, um, it just was not right. I don't even know
Yeah.
how to label it exactly,
Yeah.
but I had an issue with food, and began to sort of realize through reading these things that my relationship with food was the problem.
Yeah.
My self-image was a problem, and that I needed to, you know, even though I wanted to lose weight, it had to be about more than just the way that I looked. Because, you know, I've been through enough in my life to realize that the thing that you think you want that's going to make you so happy and just fix all of your problems, you get that, and then it's like you're still
Right.
you on the inside. So
Right.
this, you know, needs to be corrected.
It's
And
true.
I just really sort of like talking to myself, and I talked with my husband a lot, and he helped me. I have my older
Oh.
daughters, and
Yeah.
we would have discussions
Oh.
about these things. And, you know, realizing that, and it's weird because I have four older children, but now I have these little ones, two girls and a boy, and I just don't want them to have those same struggles, you know.
Right.
Accept yourself for the way that you are, you know, do what you can to take care of yourself and be healthy. Um, don't lean on food. It was either my comfort or my enemy.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, food's just fuel, you know. It's
Mhm.
so I don't know. I honestly, it may sound cliche, but just like talking to myself a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
and realizing, oh my God, you know, these things this is true. What society will tell us, uh, you're fat, you're too big, but
Yeah.
then they'll say, you know, drink this Coke and
Right.
eat
Right.
this and whatever to be cool. And I don't know. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could probably go on and on and on about that,
Yeah.
but I really just think, you know, in the midst of being in a place in my life where I'm 45 years old, I'm tired of being in this place mentally and emotionally. Um, so I'm going to make it go away,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah. And I mean, I wish I had more specifics, I guess, than
No,
that. Like,
that's useful. Yeah, no, it's nice just to hear, like you said, and for any of you guys listening that don't know the book she's talking about, we'll link to it in the show notes, episode 48, and it's called Weight Loss Apocalypse. It's by Robin Woodall, and it's actually about the HCG protocol, but it's about way more than that, which is like she addressed. It's about like the whole mental aspect. Um, And really, I mean, probably half my interviews have mentioned her book. So that's how you guys know just how important it is that you get it. So it's a
Yeah.
very important piece of the puzzle. Yeah, that was good. And like for you, these changes coming about, I mean, that's despite having a pretty intense history. Like you mentioned, having some eating disorders, like pretty severe, right?
Yes, I was bulimic for a very long time, from early teen years, actually into my 30s. But I had, nobody knew. I
Yeah.
wasn't, I always was confused about the people that would get caught by their family, because I was like, well, I'm not gonna, I don't want to be too graphic, but it's
No,
like,
it's
well,
okay. Yeah.
I'm not gonna be throwing up in my trash can or
Right.
Ziploc bags and saving them in my closet.
Right.
You know, I was very secretive
Yeah.
and able to get away with it.
Yeah.
I did tell my husband about it
Yeah.
in my early 20s, because I felt like if I didn't tell anybody, then there's no accountability.
Right.
But I still did it.
Yeah.
It was just hard to not do it, because I had the relationship with food that I would feel guilty when I would eat a lot.
Yeah.
And then when I was sad, I would binge and
Yeah.
eat. And then there was okay, well, I'm not going to do the bulimia thing anymore, but I would overeat and then gain weight. And then it became a vicious cycle. And
Yeah.
when I had my last daughter, I had stopped doing that for the most part. There were occasions when I would throw up because I felt like so guilty
Yeah.
about eating what I had eaten. But I mean, at that point, my body was so out of whack. Just that it wasn't responding even to that.
Gotcha.
It was just holding on to the weight.
Wow.
And so I honestly didn't know if it was possible to overcome that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I still will reference having like anorexia brain, where, it's like you get a little bit obsessive about the scale,
Right.
or the macros, or,
Right.
what I'm eating. And I have to just like stop myself. And usually what I'll do is step away from the scale for a few days,
Yeah.
or stop tracking my macros for a few days, because I will obsess like that. And
Right.
so, yeah, I mean, I honestly, I know there's, HCG by itself is not like the miracle, but I think stepping into this, like making a decision to do this, and the research that went along with it, opened the doors for me to realize that I needed to make these mental adjustments.
Nice.
And so I would see how someone would think, well, if you've got this anorexia brain, this unhealthy relationship, well, how they think HCG is like starving yourself. Right. But it obviously is not doing that. I felt like it was one of the healthiest things that I've done ever in reference to, weight loss. I felt great. Yeah. I was able to detox and figure out what foods were doing to my body. And it was also encouraging at the same time, because you're dropping the weight fast.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. For me, it was just so multifaceted. It was a lot more than just losing weight. It was like opening my mind to what the real problem was.
Gotcha. That's really neat. Yeah, that's really neat to hear. Would you say that like why it felt healthier, in addition to what you were learning about the psychological aspect, even though it's a lower calorie protocol, it is like really healthy whole foods, the lean meats and the vegetables and stuff. Like, did that make it feel healthier to you, or as far as it being a better approach?
I think because there's no it's natural whole food, and
Right.
you're not having the processed things in there. It
Right.
was able, like I was able to see the difference
Yeah.
in my skin and just
Cool.
my hair and everything in my
Wow.
body with
Nice.
not having the artificial stuff in my body. And
Cool.
um, I don't know how to explain it. Like I never felt like I'm gonna pass out. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
oh, I'm starving, I'm weak or anything like
Yeah.
that. I felt great. I had energy.
Nice.
Um, I just felt better than I had felt since probably in my 20s.
That's
Um,
amazing.
and at the same time, eating just that little bit, but it
Right.
was enough.
Right.
It was fine. It worked great for me.
Yeah, and that's because of the hormone, Actually, you did mention that you either did do a round of homeopathic or you saw someone who did, or
Yes, no, I
could
did do
could you
that.
tell me your experience with the two homeopathic and then this, because you're speaking about your experience with injections.
Right.
Yeah, what would you say?
Homeopathic was a totally different story, and my husband actually did it with me. This was probably, oh gosh, I don't know, 2010, 2011, something like
Yeah.
that. It was way back, and we
Okay.
had some friends who were doing that and suggested it. I felt like I was starving. I
Wow.
actually got really, and I had already like battled with depression and stuff, but
Yeah.
this made me very depressed. I just felt
Wow.
weak. I felt
Gotcha.
it made me miserable. Both my husband and I were miserable, and I actually said, "Oh my God, I would never do." I didn't even know there were injections. I didn't know anything about.
Yeah. You thought
Um,
HCG was what you were taking, right?
I thought that's what I was
Yeah.
taking, and I said to myself, "I'll never do HCG again." And then, of course, I came across the HCG, the injection the protocol that I did follow, that I was successful on, because I was at a point where I was thinking about weight loss surgery
Okay.
and just looking into my options. And I came across your videos
Aw.
on YouTube,
Yay.
and I literally laid in bed for hours, just was listening to you talk. And it was like because I'm kind of not for everything, but I'm like in order. It's like, oh, video one, so I have to watch
Oh
this.
no, you're in trouble
So, so I went like all the way back when you first started, and I was listening to you, and I was thinking, well, this doesn't sound, this is nothing like what I experienced,
then.
and just did the research and stuff. So for me, I know that I've seen others do the drops, and
Right?
did the drops, the homeopathic, and they're successful. For me, it was a nightmare,
Yeah.
and totally like a night and day
Interesting.
thing.
Now,
So
when you did the injections, do you remember like what dosages that you used by chance?
um let's see. That's sad. It
It's
hasn't been
okay.
that long, and I'm trying
Like
to.
150 IU, 125,
Okay, so
200.
I would usually start around 140, 145,
Okay.
and then I always ended up lowering. And the last two rounds, 125 was the
Okay.
sweet spot. And
Nice.
so I was, it's kind of you have to adjust your brain to
Right.
thinking less is
More.
better.
Yeah.
This is more,
Less
but
is more sometimes.
that's how it ended up working for me. So
Nice. And then,
um,
so when you did make, because it was a small adjustment that you made from 140 IU to 125 IU, for those of you who are thinking of like researching right now, I'll put a link to like one of my injection tutorials that shows you the syringe and you can kind of see the numbers on the barrel. And it's a very tiny change. But it sounds like, did you make that change because you were like, oh, I feel a little hungrier than I should, or is that,
yeah, I felt hungry,
and then you reduced it and then it felt
and then
different?
I just reduced it. And every time I did that, I would get nervous, because you're thinking, what if I'm gonna
Lose.
starve today? And
Right.
I think that just goes back to the mentality. But by the third round, it didn't make me nervous at all. I was
Yeah.
just like, okay, I've got to
Pleased.
adjust it. And I
Right.
can't say I never was really starving.
Yeah.
I may have had a few
Right.
days where I feel a little bit more hungry than
Right.
usual. But
Yeah, because you were
yeah,
already pretty close to your ideal dose when it was off,
right.
so that's why it wasn't too bad. I wanted to tell some of you guys out there because some of the people I get a lot of the help emails, and those are the ones that actually are on injections. So they're taking the real hormone, but they're starving. They're like, oh my God, I'm gonna eat my arm. Like, please help, you know. So some of you guys, if you're thinking that, first of all, the main thing I can tell you to do is go to my blog post on it. It's like extensive. It could probably be its own book. It's hcgchica.com/dosage. And I have dosage stories on there like hers, but also how to tell if your dose is too high or too low. Because pretty much like 99% of the time, if you're hungry on injections, it's a dosage problem. And as she said, it's not that more is better. It's actually that both too little and too much will cause the same feeling of hunger. So it's just kind of a matter of the time of day that you're feeling it and all that. So I just want to I mention this post like almost every interview just because it's so important to your experience on the protocol. Um, that just like her, once you get to that ideal dosage or close to it, you're gonna feel like you're gonna be eating the 500 like she was, but be like, oh, I'm not hungry, which is not usually possible, you know. So
Right. No. And then there were times where I would not even I wouldn't even get to the 500 calories, and I would just feel full,
yeah,
with what I had eaten. Maybe it was 300 and something on some days. Um, Miraculous. It just
yeah. No, you're so right about that. And I have another blog post about that that I'll link to as well. Is it okay to eat less than 500? Because there's a lot of controversy about that online that like you have to eat all 500 and it's like if you're
right,
hungry for it fine, but I have a post, I think it's reasonable. Same thing for me, my fifth round I only ate like 350 calories some days because yeah, I just wasn't hungry. I always ate my proteins. That's
right.
usually what I recommend. Make sure you do eat your proteins, but you can skip an apple or whatever, skip a vegetable. Yeah, so because
Yeah,
the hormone's really preserving your lean muscle, that's why it's different than just doing
yeah.
something else.
It was. I mean, I've never experienced anything like that
Yeah,
where it was like I'm eating this. Also learning to listen to my body. When am I
yeah,
actually hungry? That's a
right.
whole another thing.
It's
But
true.
um, the last round that I did, it was just paying attention to, am I really hungry? Um, I mean, I did that for all three rounds, but by the third round, I guess what
Yeah,
I'm saying is I had learned to
right.
identify,
Identify. Yeah,
you know what, I don't have to eat because it's 5 o'clock.
right,
I'm not hungry,
right,
so I'm not gonna force myself to eat right now because, oh, that's what I have to do. Or, oh, I only have 325 calories, so I
right,
have to have 275 more. I'm trying to do
right,
math.
right. Whatever. We know what you mean.
Whatever it is.
This
But
is show is not about math. So.
yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's good that you said that too. That because kind of part of the process of learning to eat healthfully, I think long term is you kind of touched on both the fact that you shouldn't feel guilty for eating when you're hungry and you need to eat because that's a huge problem that a lot of us experience. But then you also shouldn't feel impelled to eat just because it's a certain time of day when you're
Right.
not hungry. You know, it's like if you eat like Robin Woodall in her book says, it's eating based on hunger. It makes so much sense.
It does. It makes so much sense. And one of the things that culturally, I mean, we live in Texas right now, and I mean, we're just discovering the culture of Texas, but we are from Louisiana,
Okay.
and that's Cajun culture. Even though I'm not Cajun, but my husband's family is Cajun, and everything revolves around eating. I
Yeah.
mean, every celebration
Wow.
is. I mean, you made an A on your test, so we're gonna eat. So there, it was very hard for me to stick to my guns, um, following that, eating when I'm hungry and not eating when I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
Um, and I know some people, I mean, I sort of got to a place where it was like, okay, we're going to a restaurant or we're going to do this or whatever. But you know what? If I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat. I'll just drink my water.
Yeah.
Not being influenced
Yeah.
by what everybody else around me is doing or what they think that I should be doing.
Yeah.
Um,
That's cool.
because that's part of what got me in the
Right.
place that I was in the first place. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, no, that's helpful. And actually, it's kind of funny because I think sometimes it's just even that initial realization that because like you said, if you go to a gathering and there's a ton of food, or you go to a restaurant, it's like the point is to eat, right? So it's like you almost never even consider not eating if you're not hungry. I did that the other day. I usually do eat because when we go out, I'm hungry, I guess. But I think I had already eaten a fair amount that day, and so we were kind of unexpectedly going to a restaurant after when I had really felt like I'd eaten enough for the day. And so I'm like, yeah, but my husband and son wanted to go. So I'm like, okay, let's go. And maybe I'll figure out what I'm gonna order. So maybe just a side of chips or something,
Yeah.
because I do eat carbs and phase four. But as I sat there, I thought to myself that thing that, you know what? I really actually don't need to eat anymore today. And I think I'm gonna feel better, like psychologically too, if I just choose not to. And I ordered a cup of tea. I had my stevia in my purse so that I had a little something. So I just sat there and drank my tea while they had their pizza, and it
Yeah.
was fine. And actually felt kind of empowered, like realizing, like actually, yeah, I'm not hungry. I'm fine right now. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's once you get past the uh, comments,
yes,
sure
yes.
you're not gonna, you don't want to eat.
Right.
My mother-in-law hates that,
Does she?
that I don't eat certain things or that I
Yeah. How do
want
you
to,
deal with that? How do you handle that?
um, I just
You're like,
take
I
it with
don't.
uh, I just kind of laugh about it and just
Yeah.
tell her, the last thing was, she's so worried about me because she felt like I was starving.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm really not, like, I promise I'm not
Yeah.
starving myself. I'm fine,
I'm good. I
and
love you.
just like, I just, yeah, I just, I love you. Thanks for loving me.
Yeah. So you just kind
Okay.
of try to brush it off and kind of move
Right.
over it. Gotcha.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. Just try to keep the peace.
I try, yeah, I just try to, I mean, honestly, if it was up to me, I wouldn't even I don't try to draw attention to
Yeah.
when you lose almost 50 pounds,
Right. People
people
notice.
notice
Yeah.
and say things, and of course then they ask.
Right.
And it's one thing to have to deal with that, but then when you're in the midst of them, and I have been several times and on phase two,
Gotcha.
then that's when,
It's like,
the
ooh.
eyebrows, and it's like, oh, so
Right.
that was like, I just had to be hard nosed about it and smile.
Yeah.
Or you think that way.
Yeah. Oh, it's
But
good that you stuck it out, because otherwise, like you said, you'd end up just being a victim of what other people think is best for you, and then you don't get anywhere.
right,
So,
right, and then I still have to live with me.
right, you have to live with it. Yeah. So, okay, so just so you did 3 rounds so far. You said one was about 30 days, one was 23, and one was about 28. So
Right,
2 rounds about a month long, and then one that was just about 3 weeks.
right,
Um, to get all the way from a size 18-20 to a size 8, which
right.
is awesome. Now, how long did you take in between? Like, how long were your breaks between rounds? Do you recall?
3 weeks. Now
Oh,
the
okay.
second round. Okay, so after the 23-day one, that might have been a little bit less than 3 weeks, because what happened was I had left the rest of. I was supposed to go another week, and we were traveling, and I had forgotten the rest of my HCG
Gotcha.
back in Louisiana. So
Gotcha.
I was like taking kind of a break, but I want to say it was almost 3 weeks if it wasn't 3 weeks.
Gotcha. So
So
fairly short, actually. Yeah.
right, very
Gotcha.
short rounds, breaks in between. Um, I think because I had the holidays in mind, and I wanted to just get to a certain point
Yeah.
by then. And my initial goal was a little bit less than that, than
Yeah.
this. I mean, what I weigh right now. But like I said earlier, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. You look amazing. You really do. You look,
Well,
like I said before I started recording, I was like, you look like a ballerina. Are you a ballerina?
no.
I'm gonna wear a bun. I want to look like a ballerina. um, well, that's great. So I want to talk about P3 a little, but maybe before we do that, we should just talk a little more about phase two. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I wanted to talk about, you mentioned a point where your weight really, before HCG, where it really kind of started to climb after a procedure you had done. Well, would you mind sharing that?
Okay, so I had trying to remember what year it was. I want to say it was in 2004, maybe 2005. Anyway, I had an umbilical hernia,
Oh.
and so they had done a repair on that umbilical hernia, but the doctor did not reattach my belly button. So
Oh.
it was bizarre. And
Huh.
I don't, he just felt like he didn't need to.
Hmm.
So I was thinking in my mind, okay, I know it's not necessary to have a belly button, but I would like my belly button back.
Wait a minute. So what do you,
So
hold on. Like, I'm trying to picture, like, so what does this mean? Like, it's
it's
just
just,
floating
it was
inside
like,
your body, or what? No, so you actually didn't have a belly button after
right,
this?
I just had like the little, like where it is, you could see the skin, that
Yeah.
was my belly
Whoa.
button, but there's like a stump inside of your body that it's
Yeah.
attached to that makes it go in. Well,
Right.
he didn't reattach it. And I was
Wow.
like, I'm confused. Like, I don't know why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
That,
Like every
so
human has one.
I know, like, just can
I'd
I
like
have
to blend in
that,
at the
please?
beach.
I know, right? I'm like, oh, okay, this looks weird,
I guess
but
that's one way to get people to not look at your chest, maybe. Like just like that's gonna be like, well, now
that,
that's different.
like, wait, and I know, like, I would show my friends, like, look at this. They're like, wow. So I went to a plastic surgeon to
Yeah.
see if he could fix it, and of course, said yes, and blah blah blah. And he said, while I'm there, he said I can just do like a partial tummy tuck, and I had extra skin, so I was
Yeah.
like, sure, why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had that done. At that time, I weighed like 120,
Okay.
121, something like that, and it was, even my husband noted that. It was like immediately after that, I just started gaining weight, and nothing
Wow.
had changed other than that surgery.
Like you
Um,
felt like your eating was still fairly the same, or did you actually feel hungrier or something?
um, I don't know that I felt hungrier. I mean, I feel like my eating habits didn't change, and I mean,
Gotcha.
at that time, I had no real, I've talked about my eating disorder
Right.
earlier, but
Right.
at that time, I was, just because it's a point where I remember, I don't think I was really doing anything major. I was just kind of living,
Yeah.
and that was my normal weight.
Right.
But over a period of, it must have been about 2005, because I got pregnant for my 8-year-old in 2007. Anyway, 30 pounds.
Wow.
I weighed like 155 pounds when I got pregnant for my
Gotcha.
daughter. So, and I was still working out.
Oh, like after the surgery, were you able to work out right away, even with the tummy
Um,
tuck?
I had to wait. I had to wait six
Okay,
weeks.
6 weeks. Yeah.
And then I was a cheerleading coach and a tumbling coach.
Oh, wow.
So I remember at 6 weeks, I went outside and got on the trampoline and started trying to get my flips back. That didn't work quite the way that I wanted it to. So I kind of just was like, oh, maybe I'm too old to do that now
Oh.
anymore. I'll just put that, because some things kind of felt like, whoa, what happened? But I mean, other than that, I was just doing my normal thing. And
Wow.
I've often wondered, but I can't find in my research really anything that would,
Like concrete.
yeah, that would back that up. But to me, it's like something happened to my metabolism or something
Yeah.
after that surgery,
Interesting.
because it just, all of a sudden my body just wanted to be 155 pounds,
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting because I mean, any type of surgery really like that is kind of like it's like invasive, you know? It's a big
Right,
deal. And
right.
I just thought that was interesting. Sometimes for some people, it's like they might have been active before, but then after surgery, usually you can't move a lot, especially with something like that. And that like being less active, but then you're still eating the same, so you can gain weight. But it sounds like for you that it was even just more outlandish for what was happening. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't match up, you know?
It was pretty bizarre for me
Yeah.
because I had never gained weight like that outside of being pregnant.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
so here I was, and yeah, I mean, doctors, oh, well, you're in your 30s, because I was in my 30s at the time, and it was
You're
like,
like, I
yep,
was in my 30s before the surgery. Like,
I was in my 30s before the surgery, and so why now? Yeah, so to me, that something happened
yeah.
at that point, and it's just bizarre, you
Yeah.
know.
No, I'm glad you shared that. I wanted you to talk about it only because, like, I just feel like, for a lot of women that lose weight with this protocol, sometimes they might lose 100 pounds or more or 60. Excess skin seems to be real genetic from what I've seen. Like sometimes people only lose like 40 pounds, but they still have a lot of excess skin. And I can totally see the desire to want to get rid of it. And it is totally a personal decision. And it can turn out great. I just was thinking that it is still a surgery and there can be sometimes complications. You can't be active after for a while. So it's just one of those things that like you just want to stop and definitely think the decision all the way through,
Right, right,
right? Because it's like
right,
something could happen like what happened with you and it would kind of undo all of your hard work. And just to be careful, like, do I
right,
really need it, or how important is this to me? Because
right.
it's just a risk, that's all, right?
And I would definitely say, and I've had my share of surgeries, obviously. I mean, I've had hysterectomy and other things, but
Yeah.
my experiences, and I mean, I get that, I understand some people, you're right, have this significant amount of
Right.
skin that
Right.
they would want. I mean, I could easily think of some things surgery wise,
Yeah.
that I'd really like to do that.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, going through what I've gone through,
Right.
and, it's like, if it's something that I don't
Right.
really need to do, just my experience with it, yes, it's like, I'd rather not,
Yeah.
but I mean, anybody can do, everybody's
Right.
different.
Yeah,
That
no, but that's
particular
like just it's
surgery
just a
just,
good thing to like think it through that sometimes there can be complications or you
right,
know like I thought I mean I'm small. I only have a little bit of excess skin, but it's like if I lean over I can definitely like it's not
yeah,
all tight. Like it's
right,
it
right,
hangs and I'm like that's not that attractive. But so there's just little moments where you're like, "Oh, I wonder what it would be like." And
right,
but like I have more than one autoimmune illnesses. So I just feel like, or even honestly, to have like I wear contacts, I have really bad vision, and like so I've thought about even just having, and that's a standard procedure to have
oh
like
yeah, hmm,
LASIK or whatever. But you know what? It's just because I have these autoimmune illnesses, I just feel like I think it's too risky because it's like your body. I can't really trust how my body's gonna react to
no,
things, and I'm like that could be the thing where my body now attacks my eyeballs or wherever I had
right.
surgery, and like who knows. So I just like, it's not worth the risk because I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So,
I know, and that's just kind of how I feel. That's how I approach it
yeah,
now, is that this is good. It's
yeah,
not like, if I don't have to, if I'm not gonna die
right.
because I don't have it, then I'm good with
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's good.
So
Thanks for sharing that. Um, well, good. We talked about a lot of that stuff that I wanted to cover. Why don't we talk quickly about just P2? Did you have any like how was P2 for you? Like, what did you eat? How did you feel? Well, you already mentioned that you felt pretty good.
right,
Did you have any like stalls that bothered you or?
I did, towards the beginning. Okay, so the first round, I'm trying to think. I had a few stalls. Usually apple days for me, and I know, like, I had read, or watched your
Oh, right. Yeah.
video and about
Yeah.
apples. It made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
And so, but I'll get to that in a second.
Sure.
But for the first one, I would do it apple day,
Yeah.
and then everything would be fine. It would
Yeah.
just break through that.
Nice.
So, I mean, I did have some stalls. One time I had a random gain. I think I determined I was using too much salt,
Yeah,
maybe, or something like that.
that's a common culprit.
Um,
Yeah.
but overall, it really was uneventful. It was, I guess I went into it initially high hopes, because you read of all the testimonials and
Right.
stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, 20 pounds,
Right.
in 20 days or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
And then I just got to where it was like, I'm losing a significant amount of weight. And if
Right.
it's not, if I do it 30 days and I haven't lost 30 pounds, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
think about if you weren't doing this, I
Right.
mean, it would have been less. It would
Right.
take a longer
Yeah,
time.
any alternative is not as good.
Right. Any alternative was
Yeah.
not as good, so I just had to like be satisfied. But
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that can eat when I find something that I like.
Yeah.
I can eat it forever until just one day I'm like, I don't ever want to see that again.
Yeah.
So it was not bad for me. I wasn't
Yeah.
one of those that got bored.
Yeah.
I mean, I just found I would eat, tilapia fish or grilled chicken,
Yeah.
cucumbers, maybe lettuce, whatever, and I was good. My
Wow.
husband was like, "How can you do this every day?" And I told him, I said, "I want this. Like, this is what I want to eat.
Yeah.
I know it works for me,
Yeah.
And I did experiment a couple of times. Like, I tried like the lean ground beef.
Yeah.
That was not my friend when I
Mm,
would eat that on
gotcha.
pizza. I did try tuna one time. That was not my friend.
Yeah.
I would experiment a little bit, and if I saw that, maybe I would stall or gain from
Yeah.
that, I'd say, you know what, just let me stay with the chicken and the cucumbers or
Right.
whatever, celery.
Sure.
And I was good,
Cool.
you
That's
know.
nice. Did you eat any fruit at all on phase two or no?
The first round and the third round I did.
Yeah.
Second round I didn't, and I found I did have, well, of course, now I can probably look back and figure out why I didn't stabilize right away. But I tried the no fruit for the second round,
Yeah.
mainly because of the sugar
Yeah.
addiction thing,
Right.
because I wanted to see if I could, how that would work in terms of cravings.
Right. Right.
And so then for my third round, I did have fruit, but not a lot.
Yeah.
I just occasionally,
Gotcha.
and significantly less than I had for my first round.
Gotcha.
Um, Now I really don't ever crave anything sweet, which is weird.
Interesting. Yeah.
Usually I
Well,
used to
because
be
you're eating ketogenically now, right?
right,
So that would
right.
make sense. That's kind of really
Yeah,
helps with cravings. Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
So I just phase two for me was not a big deal other than when I traveled,
Yeah.
when my husband cooked bacon.
Oh, that's right. We talked about smells. What was the hardest
Yeah,
thing on phase two for you? You said something about maybe smells was one of them.
smelling bacon, honestly, or delicious foods. I mean, I had times where listen, my daughter got married. I went through her rehearsal dinner and her wedding on phase two.
Wow.
And everyone did feel sorry for me, but I didn't feel sorry for myself. I felt fine. I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I can go to a wedding or go to a restaurant and eat this stuff any other time that I want. I'm
Right.
dedicating this few weeks to this,
Yeah.
so I'm fine. And then I actually went to another wedding, a close friend, and I was on phase two at
Yeah.
that time too.
Yeah.
So, that was I think what was difficult about it was not the temptation to eat the food, but kind of like drawing attention by not eating.
Right. You just kind of want people to not notice. It's them noticing that bugs
Right,
you, huh? Yeah.
right. That's
Well,
the
I
problem.
really love your attitude though, just about just going to, especially like, I mean, this wasn't even just a wedding you were going to, it was your daughter's wedding. I mean, that's pretty special,
Right,
and just that you kind of disconnected the food from it as being an important part of the experience, because I think that's where a lot of us end up, because the thing is there are always so many events going on. Like, I'm always
right,
telling people, like, try to plan your round when there isn't nothing going on. But that's just like almost never. Like,
right. And
somehow,
that's
like, someone's having a baby or getting
hmm
married or just something. And
right,
but I think what happens is a lot of times people will tell me this too, like, I'm planning on cheating for this event, or it's worth it to me because this is important, or like this is only going to happen once in a lifetime. And I can respect that to some extent
right,
if that's your choice. But I
right,
do love that this is an option, which is to just basically be like, this event is definitely once in a lifetime, but the
right.
food is really only a certain part of it, and it doesn't actually have to be the experience, part of my experience.
Right. And I think I realized that it was like, I will have an opportunity to eat this type of food at another time.
Right.
So, I'm just gonna mentally separate that
Yeah.
from part of this special time,
Right. Yeah.
being there, I mean, obviously it's my daughter getting married.
Yeah.
So that was what was
Yeah.
important for me, being with family and friends.
Yeah.
And for the other wedding, she's like a daughter to me. It was the
Yeah.
same thing. It's like, I'm here, I'm with my family, I'm with my friends, we're celebrating this, and I don't have to eat that food to celebrate
Right.
this. And that just goes with the healing for me mentally and emotionally with food. Just like food is, it's not good, it's not bad, it's fuel.
Yeah.
And if you know I I'm not gonna say I'll never eat something again,
Right.
um because I don't want to lose the freedom that I feel like I have now. It's like
Right.
I eat like I eat because I choose to eat that way.
Yeah.
Um, and food's always going to be there.
Right.
It's always going to be there. The
Yeah.
event will not, but the
Right.
food will be.
That's so
So,
true. Yeah. Unless it's like a cake in the shape of your daughter's face or something.
right.
Just kidding.
If it's like, oh, I'll never get that again.
Oh man. Well, that's good. That's really helpful. Well, why don't we move into phase three then, as far as like what has been your experience with stabilizing in phase three? I mean, it sounds like you're very short between rounds anyway, but how did you eat during phase three, and how did that work out with your weight each time?
Okay, so the first round, I kind of just jumped in way too quickly with the cheese and the dairy and
Yeah.
all of that, and just you look up
Right.
phase three
Yep.
recipes, and then there's all of this stuff in there, and so I had to do a steak day for both my first P3 and my second one.
Yeah.
And what I realized was that I need to take it real slow, adding in these things. And realizing that, okay, it's another, I think the mindset of being free,
Mhm.
and then obviously the HCG is pretty much out of your system, so you are feeling hungry,
Right.
and the smells, you're like, oh, I
Yes. The
need
bacon.
um, so, you just almost, it was like I want to celebrate that I'm at this place with eating this
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
And so once I got, my mind to a place where it's like, okay, you're going to have time to get to that. You need to figure out what it is that throws your body out of whack.
Right.
And so I was a lot smarter and slower the last round with P3. And so I waited to add cheese probably a week or so. And then when I did add it back in, I realized cheese
Not your
and
friend.
no, not my friend at all. My stomach was so
Oh,
just
not happy.
it was horrific, actually.
Oof.
And dairy, I mean, I do the Kerrygold
Oh
butter.
yeah.
That is fine with me. I
Yeah.
also do coconut oil and ghee in my coffee, and
Cool.
that seems to be fine. But when I start adding um, cheese, or I can have a little bit of heavy whipping cream, but not a lot.
Right.
Like, oh, it's a little treat here and there.
Right.
So dairy was one thing I took slow, and also nuts. I went slow because I found, looking back, that those are the two things that I seem to, after indulging
Mm-hmm.
in what most people would say was a normal quantity. It wasn't like I was gorging on it,
Yeah.
but I would have a gain, or I just would feel horrible. My
Mm.
stomach didn't feel right. I would have
Yeah.
terrible headaches. Um, and
Interesting.
so this round, I figured out, okay, dairy is really not that great for me, unless, these certain things I can do. Um, the only nuts that I tried this time were almonds, and they too, which is so sad.
I know the almond flour, all the almond flour dishes. I
I
know.
know.
Right.
So almonds they also tore up my stomach, and I find that while it's sad, it is good that I've discovered things that my body just doesn't,
Right.
they just don't jive with.
Right.
Um, and so, what's the goal? The goal is to feel better,
Yeah.
um, and not just stay, having lost weight, but just mentally and emotionally. I mean, I'm a mom, and
Right.
and I'm a
Stuff.
wife, and
Yeah.
I have to be able to function without, you know,
Having stomach distress.
and headaches and whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, that's interesting that you share that. Because, well, you probably know I've talked about it, making a phase 3 meal plan. And I had to spend a lot of time like reading over what people have written into me about phase 3, what has worked for people, what hasn't worked, what the general consensus is, because I can't tailor this to an individual. I do have to make it for
right,
a group. So there's no way it can be like 100% going to work perfectly for everyone. But
right,
there are definitely things that by and large seem to be the case for a lot of people. And one of them is what you mentioned, which is that dairy and nuts tend to be a problem for people. And yeah, like you said, it could be from an intolerance issue. Also, I discovered like how calorie dense they are. And I mean,
right.
I
Yeah.
know
So,
nuts are high in fat and everything, and I knew that. But I would still like if someone said, "Oh, tell me how much is in 200 calories worth of nuts." I mean, I would have still put a fair amount. It's hardly anything. I mean,
right.
like when I actually
It's
weigh it,
like,
it's like tiny. Like who wants to eat 10 pecans? Like,
right. No,
I mean, that's not what I would consider a serving. So,
no, no.
yeah, so I like you said, I think for those two reasons when we go into P3, I did the same thing. My first P3, I was like just yeah, everything, like all of the grain-free, sugar-free Pinterest recipes I have on my board, like let's
Yeah,
make them all like and eat them today. But yeah, almond flour, all that stuff, and yeah, and they can be good, and sometimes introduced later can be fine, but that's why like your weight's just so volatile in that first, especially the first 2 weeks I've noticed. So
yes,
like so yeah, so the plan doesn't include dairy or nuts for the first 2 weeks and then just a little bit in the third week. So that
right.
yeah, you're easing it in just to give you the best chance for success because it does seem like a lot of people have that
Yeah.
experience.
And you just have to have, I think, the mindset of, you're still able to have more than you were able to in phase
Yes.
two. I think,
Yeah.
Patience, it's like just be
Right.
patient,
Right.
just be patient. It's worth it. And
Yeah.
recognizing in that moment that you have all of this time ahead of you to eat
Right.
other things, it's
Yeah.
not the end of the world. And
Yeah.
that's just kind of what my approach was,
Yeah, that's
especially
good.
the last round,
And you
because it was
said
like,
that it went smoother this time doing
yes,
it that
I didn't
way.
have to do any correction days.
Nice.
Um, I was able to maintain my weight. I started, the another thing I started slowly was exercise. because I had been doing research and I was wanting to hit the weights because I
Yeah.
knew I wanted to do eat ketogenic
Yeah.
and do strength training because I
Yeah.
just feel like, and that's a whole nother thing, I feel like my body responds well to that.
Yeah.
So I had to be patient and realize you're going to have plenty of time to do that. Just because you're 45 doesn't mean you have to start doing it this week.
Yeah.
Just take your time. And I'm glad I did,
That's good.
because for me, patience worked and erring
Yeah.
on the side of caution
Yeah.
worked. And,
Yeah.
like I said, I have butter, so I know it's not, and heavy whipping cream occasionally. I've
Right.
actually had, I did cream cheese pancakes one time and I
Yeah.
was fine. So I
Yeah.
know it's not all
Right.
dairy all the time.
Right.
It's just giving my body time
Yes.
to adjust. And like we had said earlier, just the amount of weight
Oh,
you lose in the
yeah.
amount of time, your body is sort of like, okay, whoa,
It's
what?
like reeling, like, whoa, where am I at?
Right.
Yeah, and you're like, shh, it's okay. This is a good place to be.
Right. Come on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm the same way actually. I don't do very well with dairy in general, but butter is completely fine, even just regular butter for me. And I do have a little half and half in my black tea every morning, but it's a small amount,
Right.
like 2 tablespoons maybe. And it's same thing. Anytime I tried making this, it's actually for a video I'm making, but it's a pumpkin cheesecake mousse recipe, sugar free, but it's like a keto type recipe. So it's very high fat, has a ton of whipping cream in it and a bunch of cream cheese, like two
Mhm.
bricks, you know. And it was so good that I ate like a half cup or more maybe. And oh my goodness, my tummy did not feel happy. It was
No,
not
I
happy.
know.
So it was just too much of it, but a little bit I can get away with and not gain weight or feel bad. So I'll do that.
Yeah,
But
I think that's kind of what my situation is. And my husband's been kind of picking on me because I've become one of those people in terms of processed
yeah,
foods.
like
You
let me
know,
look at that ingredient label.
yes. Oh, no. Well, he was with me in the store and I told him, I said, you just need to know. I read the labels. And he's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm walking away. I'm like, I'm not
Like I'm
buying
gonna go
it.
in a separate aisle from you now.
So, but I'm thinking possibly the cheeses that I had bought, maybe.
Right.
I'm not quite brave enough because I was so sick
Yeah.
that I've just like right now cheese. I don't even want
Like
to think about it, but I'm sure eventually I'll branch out and
right.
try
No, it's
again.
true. Like you said, the processing can make it like I also haven't done very well with nuts in the recent past. So like I stopped eating nuts entirely for like a whole year. Then had some peanuts and it was fine. Although I guess they're technically a legume, but anyway. So it was fine. And then on occasion I'll have them now and then. So I do occasionally have them. But like even like if nuts, if they're old, they could have mold. So it's
Right.
like we got these walnuts from a tree. Like some friend of ours like just gave us like in the whatever, the shell walnuts. They're completely fresh. And oh my goodness, they're so good. And I think they felt fine,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think I wondered that too. It's like I
Yeah.
wonder, why um, these almonds are giving me grief when I
Yeah.
know I've eaten almonds before and not
Yeah.
had trouble with it, but it messed me up so much. I was just like, okay, I'm
Not
just
worth
gonna
it.
let's just stay away from it for a while, and then
Yeah.
maybe next time I'll try maybe
Right.
with the almond flour a little bit and
Yeah, a
something,
little bit.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
mean, it's an experiment.
yeah, no, and it's good to do that. I'm curious. I have 3 questions, I think, based on what we've been talking about. So this last P3, when you started it, did you start doing ketogenic right away, or did you ease into that a little later?
Um, Probably the second week, I started to do more of the ketogenic.
Okay.
Um, and that's why, when I started doing the cheeses and realized, okay, I'm going to have to find another way to add the fat
Right.
in, because cheese is not going to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, the second week,
Okay.
I
So the
probably
first week not as so it was more just lower
more free.
carb, vegetables and meat. Okay. Gotcha. And then you started doing the ketogenic more. And then to that, because I know that ketogenic, usually dairy is a big part of that because of the
Right.
high fat. So how are you doing that now? What food choices?
Um, I I do the Kerrygold butter.
Okay.
I
Like in your
use
coffee or something, or
in my coffee, or if if I'm gonna fry eggs,
gotcha.
or honestly, there have been times where, and I'm kind of going back and forth between tracking and not tracking because
Yeah.
I'm trying to not be too obsessive about
Sure.
anything.
Yeah.
But there are times where it's like I know I haven't had enough fat, so as gross as this may sound,
Yeah.
I will take the butter and just like cut it up and put
Yeah.
it in my salad. And so
Oh, how
it
interesting. I thought you
there's
said you were gonna like eat it plain, but in a salad.
I,
Interesting.
I have eaten it plain. I would prefer not to do that if I don't have to.
Yeah, honestly, because salted butter is kind of yummy.
Salted butter. I tried the first time I did it was the unsalted butter, and
Oh
I
yeah,
thought,
that's what.
but the salted one was fine.
Yeah.
I'll use olive oil on my salad or
Gotcha. So you're
coconut
just like
oil.
liberal with your fats and oils.
Right, right.
Okay. Nice. Actually, the other day, speaking of fats, I had this amazing salad and it had walnut oil in it. I'm certain because there was like a taste in there that was like nutty, but there was no nuts in it. Because I guess that's a nut though.
That's
I don't know. Anyway, it's oil. I don't know if that would be the same as eating walnuts or not. But anyway, it was so good. It was literally pretty much just lettuce. It did have a little cheese, but it didn't need it. And this walnut oil, and it was so good. It was like some vinegar and salt,
See, I'd like to. I wonder if that's the same thing. I would like to
I
try
don't
that because I've
know.
seen like the different oils.
Yeah.
I thought, well, is that
Because
the
I
same?
tend to just always use olive oil, and like I figure, oh, it's probably not. But the flavor was really there, And I've even had like with vinegar, like pear or blueberry balsamic vinegar, and the
Right.
flavor was really there. Like, oh, this is actually worth. It's different enough to be worth it.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
I haven't tried the walnut. I actually love walnuts,
Do
but I
you?
haven't tried those
Right.
just because the almonds scarred me. So,
Totally. Yeah. That's like me
you
and
know,
gluten. Like you can't get me a mile up. Like stay away.
oh no, that's it. See, I have a gluten allergy,
Do you?
and people don't understand. It's like you cannot tempt me.
No.
If it's got gluten,
I don't care if you have a knife.
I don't care. I am not eating. That's the thing that my mother-in-law is like. She feels sorry for me because I can't eat bread.
Oh,
I'm like, I can eat bread. I can't eat bread with gluten in it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like she doesn't understand that.
Here's
But
like,
anyway, I'm like, don't feel sorry for me because I'm fine.
because I'm eating Kerrygold butter.
I can eat butter.
So
I
that's
think
all that
that would probably
matters.
disturb her to see me
Yeah.
eating a piece of butter.
Yeah. Oh, so well, since you said you do a little tracking, I mean, do you mind if I ask you like how many calories on days that you do track that you're eating, or would you
I'm
say
eating between 16 and 1700 calories.
cool? And
And
how much percentage fat, like about you think with the keto? Like, what's the aim? The aim is like 75 to 80 or so?
okay, 75% fat,
Yeah. Okay.
25% protein, and then 5% carbs.
Okay.
And, obviously, depending on which I did not realize at first that as you eat,
Yeah.
the percentages change.
Right.
Didn't realize that at
It's
first.
tricky. I mean,
But well,
yeah.
yes. So it depends. It's like you can eat this one like a salad,
Right.
and you put it in there, and then you think, oh my God, my carbs are the percentage is way high. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you just had a bowl full of kale and
Yeah.
lettuce,
Right. Yeah.
So
And then as soon as you eat a little piece of butter, it'll
it
change it
all
up a
right,
bit.
it sort of evens out, whatever. And so, I mean, I did track very heavily initially, even in phase 3, and
Yeah.
now. But I'm trying to, as you learn
Right.
what you
Yeah,
can
you don't
eat,
need to. Yeah.
you don't need to as much.
Right.
And I just I have it memorized by heart, the grams or anything like that, but I pretty much know
Right.
I can eat this and I'll be good, and
Yeah.
I can fry some salmon and this is how much. Like I don't have to measure my food or anything anymore.
Yeah, it's true. You do get a feel. For a while, I was tracking mine, not for fat content, but for to make sure I got enough protein because I discovered because I had never tracked before and I didn't know what was what. So I'm like, well, I eat steak, so I'm pretty sure I eat enough protein. Like I'm like I'm a steak person. I must eat enough protein. And then I actually tracked it and I realized, oh wow, I do not eat enough protein for all the weightlifting that I do.
Right, right.
I was really surprised actually. So then I started tracking it and weighing and measuring and making sure I got a certain level that I was going for. And after I did it for a little while, I got a feel for it. And you're right, like now I don't need to do that. I know and I can tell on a certain day, like, I know about what I've had and that it's like 30
Mhm.
grams less than my target. Like I can totally feel that without measuring and know.
You can do it.
So it is really valuable for a short time. Like for some of you guys out there, I'm a very resistant to calorie and macro counting person. That's why,
Mhm.
literally, I mean, I started my HCG journey in 2011. So that was like almost 5 years ago. And that whole time, I think my first round, I tracked some calories for like a few weeks. And that was it. Like that whole other 5 year period, I was like, no, I am so resistant to that idea. But I finally did because I got inspired to kind of get more strong and fit. And
Right,
so I was like, I'm just gonna, yeah. And it was eye opening and helpful. And you realize, like, okay, I don't have to do this forever. It's just so that I
right,
get a feel for like the size of the meat and about how much protein is in this many
right.
ounces of chicken breast or whatever. Yeah.
And it's pretty shocking when, like you said, you think well,
Right.
yeah, but and then you realize, oh my God, like I'm not getting what
Yeah.
I'm supposed to. And then,
Totally.
I just started with the strength training and I was reading, I was actually I got into my car I left the gym, got in the car, and I thought, so what am I supposed to eat after a workout,
Yeah.
And, so I started, like, I'm sitting there in the car and I took like 30 minutes. My husband's like, where are you? Um,
Figuring
looking,
out what to eat.
yeah, I need to figure out what I can eat. But so now though, with the strength training, I do have to up my protein because,
Yeah.
ketogenic is the moderate
Right.
protein. But when you throw the weights in there,
Yeah.
it's like you have to have the protein to it.
Yeah.
So, I'm having to kind of rearrange some things for
Yeah.
that. But,
It's exciting.
I just try to work it to where it's like, okay, I'll track while I'm sort of doing something new
Right.
and then get the feel for that. And then I don't want to have to put it into my phone or scan the barcode every time,
Right. Yeah, totally.
I
That's
go
great.
somewhere.
When you so you said when you do track you're like 16 to 1700 lately, now that you're stable with your calories at the beginning of this last phase 3 where it went smoothly, since you did track, did you start like lower and gradually build up or
Yes.
yeah, like
Yeah.
how many calories were you eating at the start, would you say?
Um, I want to say the first few days it was a little bit under 1,000,
Yeah.
and only because I think I just got full quicker.
Yeah.
Um, and then it was like 1,000, then 1,200,
Yeah.
1,300, and um, then I got to where by the end of phase 3 I was probably 1,500 to 1,600,
Yeah.
and honestly, I was tracking it. I don't want to make it like, oh, I just wasn't paying attention.
Right.
But I found that it's like I was not hungry eating that. I was
Cool.
wanting to make sure that when I was hungry, I ate,
Yeah.
and that was the amount of calories that
It turned
it
out to
was
be.
weird. It didn't matter what time of the day
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
It was then I was good
Cool.
till the morning, the next
Yeah.
day.
That's
So
great.
I've honestly just been trying to pay attention to that because one
Yeah.
thing is like this whole HCG experience has reset my body, and so because I was very strict protocol in phase 2, I think it gave me a good place to sort of start from scratch, I guess,
Yeah.
then let my body kind of lead me.
Dictate it. Yeah.
Right. And I remember hearing people in the past, you kind of let it go in one ear and out the other because you think, I'm not like that. I want
Yeah.
to eat this and I'm hungry for this or I'm hungry all the time or whatever.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm not nearly as hungry as I think I thought I was
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah.
I really am not. And I mean, I obviously get enough calories,
Right.
but the moments of real, actual hunger are so few and far between, and
Cool.
it never fails. It falls within that
That
amount of
range.
calories. So
Yeah. That's awesome. No,
anyway,
those are such great thoughts. I'm excited hearing you say that because just again to the phase 3 meal plan I'm trying to do. I've been really nervous like about it. Like I want to do this, but then I'm like so nervous. Like I hope this works for people or like
oh,
I mean I can't work for 100%. I mean like everyone's
right,
different sizes and heights and I get that, but like I'm just hoping at least make it closer for people. And I
right,
did do it that way where the first week is like around 1,000 to 1,100 calories. The second week is 12 to 13. The third week is like 14 to 15. So it's like gradually raising it. And that's pretty much most people that I've talked to said that didn't have to do a million steak days were people who gradually raised their calories. Because, see, I
right.
never did that. And I was always having to fix stuff because I was
Oh,
just like jumping in, eating way too much bacon, and then like, oh, okay, gotta fix it, you know?
I
Like,
know, I
and
know.
it's like
What
really mentally, like, that's a lot to deal with. It's better to like have it be like step by step, like have it
it
go
is.
well.
And it's funny because you would think from just if you're looking into doing the HCG, reading over everything, you think that phase two would be the more difficult. But
Right.
I find phase three
Yeah,
was more scary and more difficult
it
because there was
is.
so much freedom. It's like
Right.
this huge list of you can have all of this.
Right.
And whereas in phase two, it's like this very rigid
Right.
protocol, but to me it was just easier that way. I know I cannot eat this. I know I
Right.
cannot do this. This is what's safe. And in P3, it's like an experiment. Everything is,
Yeah.
so it's like all of these great recipes, and you see people posting on Instagram, look
Right.
what I'm eating. I mean, I
Right.
never have fancy stuff to post on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Instagram. I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah.
here's the salad,
Right, yeah.
my bacon and eggs.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would just think as far as, like advice to give people for P3, everybody is
It's
different. So just
yeah.
try it,
Yeah.
if and pay attention to your body
Right.
after you eat it. And you know what? Sometimes you might have to eat it for a few days
Right.
before you realize,
Like,
no, I can't do this.
right.
But I mean, I would think from what I've read as well, like what you're saying in
Yeah.
terms of adding
Yeah.
slowly,
Yeah.
it's just 3 weeks. It's
Right.
3 weeks. It's
Yeah.
really not that much time
Right. And
to,
like you said too, like usually it's true that you're not as hungry for like the same amount of calories that you'll be hungry for in a couple weeks after that because your
right,
stomach you haven't been it hasn't been getting that full.
right.
So yeah, and that does seem to be the case for most, so it makes sense in that case too. I got some serious indigestion actually like on my first week of P3 usually because I would just go overboard
Right.
because in my head at the time it was kind of like the only P3 rule was like low carb essentially. So it was like
Right.
everything else is free for all.
Everything.
Like who cares how many calories or macros don't matter. If it says low carb, I can eat it. Like
That's right.
and like
That's
so then I'd be
exactly
so full and like obviously that's means it's too much.
right.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, I have a stomachache. It hurts so bad. Like,
No, it's true because it's like you just think low carb. Oh, as long as I don't have too many
yeah,
carbs, then I'm
right.
okay. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, why do I feel like this then?
Yeah, why can't I barely walk right now? I have a problem with that. Okay, that's been my thing. I've had to learn is how to eat for what's normal for my size. Like I just always used to. I think my whole family, really, my mom's side of the family, they were all big eaters. My grandfather, like he could pack it away, and I can pack it away, you know. So I had
That's
to learn
I,
that.
I was as a teenager. I it's embarrassing. I could like a whole large pizza.
Yeah.
And I just was always, my stepdad would get so frustrated with me because like a big bag of, like a family size bag of chips,
Yeah.
it's like, what? That's my snack, you
Yeah.
know?
Like thanks,
So
bye.
I was always a big eater. So I had to relearn like,
Yeah.
what does it actually mean to feel full or like
Content.
just knowing that
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's feeling full because I
Yeah.
thought full was like full.
Distended. Yeah.
But it's like when you realize like, well, I'm not really hungry anymore.
Yeah.
I'm
Like
just
I feel
kind of eating
satisfied.
to,
Yeah.
all right, I'm satisfied
Yeah.
and not feeling like that's a sad thing.
Right.
Stop eating, you
Yeah.
know.
Like oh, full.
If I don't really, because I used to say things like that. I was like, oh, I'm getting full. That makes me
And
so
and I want
sad.
to eat
You know?
more of this.
So yeah.
I think I'm probably guilty of saying that still on occasion. On occasion, depending on the food. My husband makes this amazing potato salad. It's a German potato salad. I just
Oh,
tell him like, please don't make this too often because when you do, like, it's really hard to control
I
myself.
can't get enough. Oh,
It's so good.
yeah, I know Thanksgiving's coming up, so that's gonna be interesting with my mom here. Foods
Oh,
that are gonna be eaten or cooked.
yeah, yeah, huh?
The
The
smells.
smells, it's those smells. Well, that's all really, really helpful stuff. Gosh, you probably got to go. We've been chatting for a while. I think the last thing I wanted to ask you about was maybe just what you'd mentioned the strength training. I'd love to hear like what your research has been or what's made you feel convinced that it's a good thing to embark on because I would love for more women to be interested in it.
I think first of all, I had read about it, and I was working out was something that I've done for a long time. You know, I was a cheerleading coach, and I just junior high, I was in track, and I switched schools a lot. So for me to stay in a sport was difficult. But
Yeah.
I love running, and so cardio just felt more natural for me. And you know, I do have like bigger legs, and so when my muscles are developed, I always felt like, you know, I was embarrassed because my leg, you know, I don't
Yeah.
know. Back in the day, I guess there was a stigma with women being muscular.
Right. Yeah, there
Um,
was. Yeah.
and so, you know, I just steered away from it. But just over the last few years, I would look into, you know, lifting weights because I had read that not just like a little bit, but like a man, you
Yeah,
know,
like heavy weightlifting. Yeah,
right?
not just
You know,
10
and
pounds.
I just and I don't know a whole lot about it scientifically,
Yeah.
but I just felt like the explanation for how the muscle burning fat and
Yeah.
um, just the whole what the benefits of having the muscle and that it's not you're not going to look like a bodybuilder. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you want to, you can go
Right.
for that.
Yeah.
But you know, just the benefits. It's not going to hurt your. You know, there were so many things that I had heard that were myths. You know, you're going to
Right.
back. Well, not if you do it properly.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, or you're going to look too big and bulky
Right.
and whatever. I held off for a while because I'm one of those people that doesn't, I don't like to at the gym look like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
I like to be able to either have someone with me that does know what they're doing,
Yeah.
um, but I don't want to pay a personal trainer.
Yeah. Right. I know that's expensive.
So, but I just decided, you know what, in this newfound mental attitude that I have, I'm going to go for it. And
Nice.
so I kind of did some research, and I'm sure I'm going to change what I'm doing. I'm still kind of learning, but
Cool.
I'm doing, you know, I'm going to put it this way. I'm starting gradually because I'm trying to be kind to my body.
Yes.
I'm a type of person that likes to jump in
Yeah.
and like with my legs, I can do significantly more weight
Yeah.
because I got
Yeah.
big legs, I
Like I got
guess.
muscles, man.
But I started doing, let's see, it's called five by five or
Five
something like
sets
that.
of five. Uh-huh.
5 sets of 5, and doing the whole, instead of doing total body, which is what I had always done,
Yeah.
um, doing, okay, we're going to focus on this body part and this
Yeah.
body part. Just started doing deadlifts,
Good.
which I'm so excited about.
Yes.
And I'm really wanting to do these things. I know it sounds probably so cliche, but I feel empowered when I do it. And it's not just because, probably not for the reason that some people think that you're picking up heavy weight.
Yeah.
It's more about, I think, conquering
Yeah.
something and doing something that might be difficult,
Yeah.
but the benefits, you know,
Yeah.
and not just physically,
Yeah.
emotionally. It actually makes me like I feel like a little emotional
Teary.
right now about it,
Oh. Yeah.
just because I feel like I'm doing something difficult.
Yeah.
It's really not that difficult, but in my
It
mind,
is. Yeah. No, it is.
and
Yeah.
it's something difficult,
Mhm.
and I'm not letting the fact that it may be a little bit difficult, or maybe I won't do it exactly the right way.
Right.
I I actually, for the first time at the gym, I did a bench press.
Yeah.
I was by myself. My husband couldn't be with me because he was here with the kids, and
Yeah.
my older son was working. And that's a huge thing for me, because
Cool.
normally I would not have done that by
Yeah.
myself for
Yeah.
fear of looking like
Silly.
whatever, silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like I got in the car and I was like,
Oh,
yes,
I did
I
it.
did it,
Oh,
And
that's
anyway, so
awesome.
I'm just trying to um, go more in the way of like really doing, I hate to say weightlifting like a man, but I know that's
Yeah.
what people will maybe get a better mental picture of what
Right.
I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't I don't want to be a bodybuilder,
Right.
um, enter any contests or anything like
Yeah.
that, but I feel like my body is really responding well
Cool.
to that. And so it's like,
That's
so
exciting.
this is what my body likes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's great.
so
No,
I'm excited
that's
about it.
yeah.
I'm anxious to see what my body will transform. I can
Yes.
already see, honestly, I've been
Really?
just doing it for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and my legs, of course, I knew my legs would be first.
Yeah.
But I was sitting down yesterday and I had shorts on in my home
Yeah.
with shorts, and I was like, oh my gosh, like
My
I can
quad.
see, yes, and I was like, oh, there you are.
That's awesome. That's so
So,
great. I am so excited to hear that. That's actually I've been talking about making like just some like weightlifting demo videos just to
yeah,
show women various lifts. Like this is a deadlift, this is like how it looks, and like practice at home with like your broomstick or something, just because of that
yes,
very thing. Because I remember thinking the same thing when I was younger and I used to go to the gym. Um, yeah, and I would feel so intimidated. Like it took me so much courage just to go to the free weight section so that I could do like some 10
yes,
pound bicep curls. And that was kind of the extent of my braveness. So I was like,
right,
that's it. And I felt weird because it's like only other guys around. And then I'd,
right.
quietly go back to the treadmill and the machines, after that. And like,
Yes. Oh my God, that is exactly. It's just intimidating.
it
And I told my
is.
husband, I was like, I don't want anybody to look at me and think they have to come help me. So
Right.
I want to be able to just come over here and do my
Yeah.
thing, and you know,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and so now it's like with CrossFit and all the lifts that I learned, I'm completely comfortable with all of them. It's like I don't know if you know what a snatch is yet, but it's one of the more complex weightlifting
yes,
movements. Your arms are wide and you're literally kind of like throwing the weight over your head and like landing in a squat and stuff.
yes,
So it's hard, but and it's fun because it's like now when I go to CrossFit, it's like the trainer will often have me come up and demo the movement, even if there's like 5 guys in the class.
wow,
I mean, I'm kind of embarrassed, but it's also a neat feeling that like I do know how to do the movement correctly, and I don't have to like be like, oh, am I doing it right? Or yeah, and
right,
it feels it's just like you said, you hit the nail on the head when you said it's empowering as
yes,
far as doing something like you said, not just the physical weight, but that you're doing something hard, and then especially when you're able to keep doing it consistently.
Right.
Because like
Right.
for instance now, every now and then, maybe I'll have an upsetting day for whatever reason. And maybe in the past I would have just eaten a bunch of cake or
Right.
something. But for me now, it's like, well, this is the time I would usually go to CrossFit, and I'm like, I actually look forward to going even
Yeah.
when I feel that way, because it's like I'll even get to that point where like I'll almost like be crying during the workout, like with this heavy weights, because I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like an emotional release for like
It is.
what I'm dealing with, but in
It's
a healthier
exactly.
way.
Yes. Yes. I mean, exactly. I know when I start to feel really stressed, my husband will even not like I don't even have it. He's like, why don't you go to the gym? Because I just feel so much better. And I was
It's
talking
good.
to my 22-year-old daughter about that, and she's a lot like me. And that all of my girls like to work out.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been trying to explain to them about all of my newfound,
Yeah. Wisdom.
information.
Oh.
But I was taught my 22-year-old is probably more like me in the area of food and working out and everything.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, it's like if I don't do that, if I don't go to the gym
Yeah.
and have that release,
Right.
you can tell I'm just I don't deal with it
Right.
in a nice way, I guess. And,
Yeah.
it's like it goes to something else, and maybe I'm like maybe
Right.
whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And then when I leave, I'm just like lifted. I might be
Yeah.
exhausted and sweaty,
Right.
but
My
I'm
goodness.
just like so much happier. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exciting. I'm so excited. Yeah, deadlifts are awesome too, because like they seem like such a like they're so it's such a short movement. It's like, like from the ground to your hips, you're like, I don't know, this is just like there's
Yeah.
not much to this. Like what's this gonna do? But when it's heavy, like you said, when you go heavier, I think what you mean by lifting like a man is like a weight that you really can't lift more than
Right.
4 to 7 times. Like
Right.
once you get up into the 15, 10 to 15, then it's lighter, and
Right. And I think what people view as like with women is the
right, the
little
10 pound
dumbbells.
dumbbells.
Like
Yeah.
so lifting weights for a woman is
Right.
either like on the machine, and I still do use the
Sure.
machines,
Yeah.
but exactly what you
The
said,
free
like something
weights.
that's not too heavy, but you know what I'm
Right.
trying to say. It's like
Yeah.
heavier than
Than we most
what,
would ever usually pick up. Yeah.
right. You
Yeah.
want it to be a
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, you're not going to explode into like a She-Hulk. Like
Right.
just from, and also let me point this out to you guys, okay? Because I actually probably am a little more muscular than some of you guys would like to be. Like I have actually my 4 year anniversary from being off of HCG coming up. I tried to take new pictures, and so you can kind of see some of my muscle, but, and it may be more than you guys want, which is totally fine. But just remember, it's very easy to lose muscle too. So like I think like I never thought of this before, because I think I was also worried about that first, like getting too big. But it's like if that were to happen, the rare chance, you just stop lifting heavy weights for a few weeks and it's gonna go
Right.
away.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so you're
That's
not like locked in forever. Like you might have
right.
to wait a few weeks, but seriously, muscle, you have to work to keep muscle, because your body only keeps what it needs. So if you're not doing the stimulus that's telling your body, hey, I need more muscle here, or I need this much muscle, then it's not going to keep it.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. I
so
don't know.
don't
I
worry.
just I'm not scared of it like
Yeah,
I used to be. I
yeah,
kind of feel like I heard I don't remember who it was, but there was a girl talking. She's also doing strength training or whatever,
yeah,
and she was talking about how her body. She said she put on her jeans, and her jeans were tight in her thighs,
yep.
but too big
And
in
the
the waist.
waist, yep,
Because her body's like reshaping. And so she said
exactly.
initially you would be like, oh no, because
Right,
like the tightness in your jeans, but she said she realized it's
yeah,
like that's muscle and it's
yeah,
not a bad thing. Her waist is smaller, her
exactly.
body is changing,
Yeah,
but she doesn't look like a body. Not that I don't want to make it like it's a
yeah,
bad thing to look like
no,
that, but
right,
that's the argument that women have used in the
usually,
past, that I
right,
don't want to look too big,
yeah,
but I'm not taking any artificial
stuff,
steroids or
right, yeah,
anything like that,
you'll be
So I
fine,
think,
yeah,
uh, it healthy is.
yeah.
I actually
And
would.
shapely. Like I really what it
I was
does is
about
it
to
makes you
say,
shapely. Yeah,
Right.
like the deadlifts, that gives you hamstrings and a butt. Like your
Right.
back of your leg will start curving out, but then it will go in at the top and bottom. So it's not like your leg will just be like this tree trunk. It's
Right.
gonna like
Right.
go, it'll be in and then go out and then back in. So it's actually gonna look really great, you know, and it gives
Right.
you a butt.
Right. I'm like, that's what our muscles are supposed, that's how I feel about it. It's like, this is what our muscles are supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Not like however it was before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
me,
no,
anyway.
I mean, like you said, to each his own, but it's fun to like embark on something new that feels right to you. And um,
Right.
it's just such a healthy way, like you said, to have a release. It's a great way to improve your metabolism. It does allow you to eat more food, but in a healthy way.
Right.
Like you
Right.
said in the past before, it's like if you ate more, you would have maybe thrown up or something. Now it's like
Right.
you can eat more because your body actually needs it. It's like, oh, my
My
body
body
needs, I
actually,
have to feed it.
right. And
You
it's
know?
that's an amazing feeling. And I can
Yeah.
honestly say, I feel so much better now, which is interesting. I feel so much better now about how I eat and what I'm doing and the size that I am than when I was 120 pounds, which was
Nice.
a normal
Right.
weight for me. But when I was 120 pounds and struggling with guilt,
Yeah.
making myself throw up, or if I was sad, just binging or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like I just feel so much healthier,
It's
even
awesome.
mentally. Like,
Yeah.
I
So
don't
great.
know. I'm the size that I am, and I feel like I've
Yeah.
worked for it.
Yeah.
If I don't lose another pound,
Yeah.
I'm
You're good.
good.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I mean, HCG has really, I wish people were more open to it
Hmm.
and just like, honestly, when I see, like, I have people in my family or just people that maybe I'm acquaintances with who have said things to me about how they feel about their weight,
Yeah.
and trying this or trying that. Of course, people will ask me,
Yeah.
but it's like if you say HCG, they're confused about it. Injections, they're really confused and terrified.
Yeah.
And it's like they won't even give it a
A
chance.
chance. Yeah.
And so I do hope that, you know, uh, I could at least influence someone, like just try,
Hmm.
just try it because what's the worst thing that can
Yeah.
happen? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know
Right.
the what was the negative.
Well, I mean, if your metabolic, like, I think the main concern is like slowing your metabolism down, right? Which is always a possibility or is a potential with going lower calorie. We know that the hormone really does prevent that, but
Right,
but even then, it's like from my research, people use that as a scare tactic as far as metabolism goes more than necessary. I've learned
yeah,
how recoverable the metabolism is. There's actually this study done on women who were anorexic for a period of years and in recovery and how long it took them once recovered for their metabolisms to become normal again. And it wasn't that long. Like,
yeah.
it's not like, because people are like, oh, well, that, when you've been to that for years, it's just like all over. You'll never be normal again. Like, I mean, how
Well, and
terrifying to think that.
that's actually what I thought. That's why I thought, well, I'm gonna have to have weight loss surgery because I've
Yeah,
just totally destroyed my metabolism and there's
yeah,
no hope for me.
yeah.
But this I found was it was like, what do I have to lose? If my
Right.
metabolism is already
Right.
destroyed,
You're like, it's
you
already a
know,
mess.
I'll
Yeah.
just stay the same,
Right.
which
Yeah.
would be a bummer.
Right.
But,
Right.
you know,
You
that's
were
why
already in a bad place for you. So,
I was already in a bad place. So I mean, I do understand what you're saying. If you've
yeah.
had that fear of, oh,
Right.
you're going to slow your metab, but
Yeah.
I know I don't think that's the case. If you follow
Yeah.
protocol,
Right.
um, I mean, obviously my metabolism is way different because if I
Yeah.
would have been eating 1,600 to 1,700 calories um,
Before.
before I started this,
Yeah.
and honestly, I probably was just probably more, to be fair, with some of the junk,
Yeah.
days, but
Sure.
it's not like I was eating that much more
Right.
on a daily basis. So
Gotcha.
anyway, I
Yeah.
just feel like it's really a good place for people who also need to reestablish the whole mindset towards
Hmm.
food
Yeah.
in the first place,
No, you're right. That was a turning point for me for sure. And I didn't like you. I think you said you almost didn't realize that that was going to be part of it when you
Right,
started. Same thing
right,
for me. When I started it, I really was just like, oh, I'd like to lose weight. Like, and I
right,
ate bad, and like I could do a diet for 6 weeks. You know, I'm not going to
right.
worry about what's happening after that because I'm definitely probably going to go back to chocolate cake. But like,
Yeah.
I really had no plan. Like, you know, and then like you said, you'd start undergoing this transformation and learning more about nutrition and food and what things are and the mental thing. And then, yeah, it started that without me realizing it, you know? So,
Yeah,
yeah. And as far as people being afraid, like you said, being open, trying it, and also research is there's no harm. You're not going to gain weight or slow your metabolism simply by researching the protocol.
right,
So I tell people that on my about page, like if you're here and you're leery of the diet, like don't feel pressured or scared, like you're just reading right now, so nothing
right,
bad will happen because all
right.
you're doing is reading, like, so don't worry.
It's
You know,
true. It's
nothing's
true.
gonna happen if you just learn. And you can always decide at the end that this is a totally bad idea. Like, you
Right.
know, but like I have a lot of proof that my muscle mass was retained. I eat, you know, quite a bit, so and maintain, you know, so yeah. Anyway, well, I have kept you long enough, and this has been such a great
No, but
interview.
this has been so great to
I'm
talk
so
to you.
glad. Me
I don't
too.
really get to talk to people. I mean, my poor husband listens to me dee, 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 dee all the time. But it was so great
I'm
talking
glad.
to you about it.
Yeah,
And
it's been fun. It's gonna be great. I think everyone that watches is gonna love this, and I hope that like there's so many takeaways today, you guys. But if I can maybe pick one as far as like making it last for the long term, is like follow what Lisa's doing with the weightlifting. Because I'm telling you, like, I just know, like you said, I've been trying to find more scientific research. It's hard because there's just really not that many studies done on weightlifting in women. There's just not that
right,
many, not for
it's
that
very
level,
difficult to
more than
find.
10-pound dumbbells. So it's just not
Right,
out there. But I am telling you, it's just the way that I can eat, it's so freeing
right.
and it feels so good. So, anyway, thanks for being with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm just very thankful, honestly, personally, for you and like
Oh,
all that you put out there
thank you.
because it helped me so much. Not only to make like the decision to try the HCG, but then like, okay, what do I do now? Okay, so what do I do in this? And I am a researcher by nature. It's just how I like to do. And so you just had so much stuff. It really was just very helpful. Very,
I'm
very helpful.
I'm glad.
So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.